You physically attacked Angela Cole on December 26, 2024, correct?
We got into a heated argument, and yes, I assaulted her.
Punched her. Repeatedly.
It was 2 years ago.
She needed stitches to stop the bleeding, correct?
I don't recall that.
She had a fractured orbital bone.
Like I said, it was a while ago.
Okay. Let's talk about something more recent. On the day of the murder, you visited Angela at her studio and asked her to have lunch with you.
Yes.
And when she said no, you got upset and you put your hand through a window.
Yes.
Defense Exhibit K. This took place on the morning of Angela's birthday, and 8 hours before her birthday party. That is you, correct?
Yes. It's not exactly my finest moment.
Certainly not your worst either. Defense Exhibit L. Mr. White. That is you. On 15th Street, a few blocks away from Lila's Cafe, the location of Angela's 30th birthday party at 12:15 a.m. on the night of the murder.
Yes, I went there to apologize, but I realized I was being selfish, that I might cause a fuss. So I went home instead.
You went home? You didn't linger, you didn't follow her?
No.
You didn't confront her?
No.
Why the rage, Mr. White?
Because you're accusing me of killing someone I loved.
You love her, and yet you beat the hell out of her 2 years ago.
I was different back then. I was drinking and doing drugs, but
But what?
she wasn't perfect either.
Are you suggesting it was her fault that you beat the hell out of her?
That's not what I mean. Look, I wish I could take it all back, obviously, but I can't. I still get angry. It just happens sometimes.
It just happens. Like when you beat Angela the day after Christmas 2 years ago.
Yeah,
And when you punched that window on the day of the murder.
yes.
And when you choked the life out of her on her 30th birthday.
Objection.
Sustained.
Nothing further.
Cash is just as selfish and horrible as we'd imagined. No public service, he doesn't help out his mother.
You give to charity?
Next to nothing. On a gross income of $12 million.
That was a total waste of time.
Well, not exactly. Cash told me what really happened the day he was arrested for assault.
What really happened?
Angela was supposed to be babysitting his infant daughter, but went on a coke bender instead. Cash got home, found the baby alone, crying, covered in feces.
Why didn't he tell you this before?
Because he didn't want to tarnish her legacy. He felt he owed it to her given how badly he treated her.
How do you know he's not just making this up?
He has lots of evidence, surveillance video inside and outside the house. This is why Angela asked the DA's office to drop the charges.
At a minimum, it'll provide some context for his violent outburst.
Yeah, if we introduce it.
If?
I don't know, Nick. The idea of blaming Angela for her own assault feels disgusting. Not to mention her legacy. Like, her husband doesn't need to know all of this, not at this point. It doesn't feel right.
Of course it doesn't, but that's not the point. As distasteful as this might sound, there is a distinction, if not a difference, between a man flipping out after someone endangers his baby and a man flipping out over something insignificant. It's like the difference between murder and manslaughter. They're both horrible crimes, but one is clearly worse than the other.
I get it, intellectually, but well, the idea of trying to parse domestic violence makes me uncomfortable.
You know what makes me uncomfortable, Sam? The defendant walking free and killing another woman. Or staring down her husband, Lucas Peters, and telling him we should have done better. Alan Ross needs to spend the rest of his life in prison. And if the cost of doing that makes us uncomfortable, so be it.
Where were you on the night of the murder at 12:19 a.m.?
In an Uber.
People's Exhibit 15. Pickup time, 12:19 a.m. Pickup location, 632 15th Street. Destination, 77 Greenwich Street. Is this information accurate?
Yes.
few years back, you were arrested for assault, correct?
Yes.
And you have expressed deep regret over this incident, correct?
Yes.
You wish it never even happened?
Yes, but it did, and I've got to live with that.
I imagine that would be difficult.
It is. A man should never do something like that. No matter what the circumstances.
Right. No matter what the circumstances. Yeah, and despite all this, you continue to love Angela Cole.
Yes, very much.
Nothing further.
I heard about the mistrial.
Judge pushed them to reach a verdict.
You pulled up short on this one, Nolan. Letting the jury know what really happened that day might have made a difference. You don't get paid to do the comfortable thing or the noble thing. You get paid to win.
In our system of justice, a defendant is presumed innocent, and that doesn't change unless and until the people, that is myself and Ms. Maroon, prove our case beyond a reasonable doubt. If we don't do that, the law requires you to return a verdict of not guilty. So, is there anybody here who feels that if a person has been charged with a crime, they probably did something wrong? Very good. A+ so far in civics. Another issue that we run into is media coverage. Information is everywhere in the newspapers, our phones, social media. This case has garnered some publicity. Has anyone here read or heard anything about this case? It's perfectly understandable. Yes. Juror 211, could you describe what you've read or heard?
This thing's been all over the talk shows and stuff. My understanding is that the cops might have arrested the wrong guy.
Goodness. Anyone else heard anything like that? Yeah, Juror 214.
Yeah, I heard the same stuff, like this whole thing is political.
A witch hunt.
Right. That's the word they used.
Thank you. Your Honor, the people move to excuse jurors 211, 214, and 216 and thank them for their service.
Approach.
Mr. Price, Admiral Garvey is a Southern white male.
Yes, correct.
Well, you moved to excuse 3 white men from this jury.
Sorry, Your Honor, I'm not following.
As a matter of integrity, it's my job to guard against any impression that we might be stacking the jury. Batson tells us that these strikes could be viewed as eliminating white men in favor of minorities less inclined to sympathize with the defendant.
Your Honor, I am not moving to strike because they are white men. I'm moving to strike because they acknowledge digesting literal fake news about this case.
Help us out here, fellas. Could you still be objective about this case despite what you might have heard on the news?
Yeah, sure.
You didn't walk in here today with your mind made up regarding this man's guilt or innocence?
I don't guess so.
There you have it.
Your Honor, we're not impugning the character of these jurors, but there's no question that they've been exposed to material that would never be admissible in this courtroom. This creates an unacceptable risk of prejudice.
Trial by jury does not require us to see jurors who have lived in isolation in this world. Motion to strike these men is denied.
These are two of the most aggressive pro-defense rulings I've ever seen. Video compression? Nonsense. And this Batson ruling, it's absurd. Batson was designed to protect black defendants who used to get railroaded by all white juries, not powerful white men. It makes no sense. Unless, of course, that is the whole point.
Meaning what?
Meaning, unless Sullivan knows what he's doing, makes no sense.
Wait, are you suggesting...
I can't prove that he is in Garvey's pocket, but it definitely feels that way.
Are you seriously accusing Sullivan of being corrupt? He's been on the bench for 20 years. He was a prosecutor for 15. He started out right here in this office. He held your job for like 5.
Exactly. That is why this is so concerning, because he knows better. I think he should recuse himself.
On what grounds? Does he know the defendant, his family members?
Not to my knowledge.
Does he have any special relationship with Attorney Banks, with the Navy?
Not to my knowledge.
So what, you're gonna ask him to step aside because you think he's a prick? For starters, he's gonna tell you to go to hell. And then he's really gonna jam you. Going to war with a judge is bad business, Nolan.
So you want me to pretend this isn't happening?
I want you to pretend that he doesn't matter as much as you think he does. The jury makes the decision, not him.
Vice Admiral Wallace Kane was a hero. But, like all of us, he was far from perfect. 2 years ago, the FBI discovered that a man named Frank Mazzeo was bribing naval officers to dock their vessels at his slips. The FBI asked Mr. Mazzeo to cooperate to implicate the men that he was paying off. Vice Admiral Kane was one of those men. On the night of the murder, Mr. Mazzeo met with Kane wearing a wire, hoping to incriminate him, but Wally Kane was nobody's fool. He clammed up, he rushed out, and the first thing he did was to call his partner in crime the defendant. It was clear to Admiral Garvey that their secrets might be exposed, that this whole mess had to be put to bed, loose ends tied up, so he pushed Wally Kane off the side of a walkway and watched him fall to his death. This is the story of 2 good men, 2 brave men doing bad things. One of those men is now dead, and the other is the killer.
As Mr. Price just stated, Admiral Garvey is a brave man, a hero of several wars. Admiral Garvey did not kill Wally Kane. He loved Wally Kane. They were roommates at Annapolis. They worked together for 20 years. The sad truth here is the NYPD and the district attorney's office knew they were under a political scrutiny, that the world was watching and judging them for allowing something like this to happen in the first place.
Objection.
Overruled.
And the cherry on top, of course, was the chance to embarrass the federal government, the Navy. As this trial moves forward, please pay attention to the lack of specific evidence and the far-fetched narrative the prosecution is attempting to craft. If you do that, you will come to 2 conclusions. 1, that Admiral Garvey did not kill Wally Kane, and 2, the DA's office cares more about politics than the law. Thank you for your time, for your service, and your fairness.
Navy ships are big. They need a lot of dock space, especially during Fleet Week, when a bunch need to park at the same time. So, you know, I would incentivize certain people to use my ports here in New York, New Orleans, San Diego.
By incentivize, you mean paying them cash?
Yeah.
And Wally Kane was one of those people.
Yes.
When was the last time you saw him?
The night he was killed, we met for a drink at a bar on 18th Street.
What was your agenda that evening?
To get Wally to say something stupid.
Can you elaborate?
I was wearing a wire, a listening device. I was trying to get him to acknowledge that we were doing business together and he was being paid. He didn't bite.
You ever do business with the defendant?
No, not directly, but Wally said he shared the bribes with his boss.
Objection, hearsay.
Sustained.
Nothing further.
This bribery scheme was your idea?
Correct.
And you obviously knew what you were doing was illegal.
Correct.
So breaking the law doesn't bother you.
No, it bothered me. It bothered me. Just not enough, I suppose.
Was that meant to be funny?
No, just honest.
So you're honest about being a criminal, about your willingness to deceive people, skirt the law.
That's one way to put it.
Is it also true that you were arrested 9 years ago for domestic assault?
Objection.
It goes to the witness's
Your
credibility.
Honor, this is outrageous.
Relax. No need for hyperbole. Let's discuss this in chambers. Court is adjourned.
You were right, Nolan. You were right all along.
Wish that weren't true.
I'm gonna demand a mistrial.
Really?
And then I'm gonna file criminal charges against Sullivan and everyone else involved in this damn conspiracy.
I'm not so sure that's...
What's the alternative? To stand by and let them make a mockery of the judicial system?
No, but you're the one who told me not to get emotional, that attacking judges is bad business.
Stop. Just stop. I'm not here for conversation or a lecture. Just send me the file. I'll handle it from here.
Is this what I think it is? Well, I'm happy to talk. But we're feeling pretty good about where we stand.
Good enough to toss a coin. Heads, Garvey walks. Tails, he spends the rest of his life in prison.
Criminally negligent homicide? You really cut a deal with Admiral Garvey without my consent?
Yes, I did, given the facts.
He'll be out in a year. Hell, I might even suspend his sentence.
Yeah, maybe, but at least we got something. Because we didn't have the cards, Nick. We just didn't.
That is my decision, not yours.
I just couldn't stand there and watch you destroy your career.
You should worry about you. About your career.
Well, that's what I'm doing, Nick.
And how's that?
You go after Sullivan, you will get blown up. You'll lose the election, and I will lose my job. And I like what I do, and I'm good at it. So if it makes you feel any better, I did this for me, not you.
It doesn't. Someone needs to hold the line. Why not us? Why not now? This morning, Admiral Rustin Garvey pleaded guilty to 1 count of criminally negligent homicide. Based on the evidence and the specific facts and circumstances of this case, we believe this is a just result for all parties. In this country, we do not prosecute to please a crowd, and we do not neglect to prosecute to appease one. The courtroom is a place where facts still matter, where evidence still matters, where the law, quietly and deliberately, does its work. And we must fight as hard as we can to protect the sanctity of this hallowed institution, because if we don't, this whole thing, this grand experiment will crumble. When we feel ill, when we feel that lies and injustice are beginning to invade our collective well-being, law is the medicine that can help us heal.
Prior to February 18th, the day of Cecil Carbo's murder, did a man named Frank Stevens ask you to help him rob the museum?
Yes. Frank and I were old friends. We grew up together. I had mentioned a few weeks before that the crown was on display at the museum where I worked. Then out of the blue, Frank asked how easy it would be to steal. I thought he was kidding, joking around at first, but he told his buddy, Flacco, because they...
Sorry, by Flacco, you were referring to...
Luis Salazar, he goes by Flacco.
You met Luis Salazar?
Yes, 2 weeks before the heist, Frank and Salazar asked me to help them, said they would cut me in.
Do you see Luis Salazar in this courtroom?
Right there. He's sitting right there.
Your Honor, let the record reflect that the witnesses identified the defendant, Luis Salazar.
The record shall so reflect.
What help did you provide in the robbery?
I rebooted the museum CCTV to turn the cameras off, smuggled out extra security guard outfits and ID badges that I reported as lost so Frank and Salazar could have access to the building.
And on the morning of the murder, did you see the defendant?
Yes. After I rebooted the cameras, I went upstairs to make sure Frank and Salazar got inside okay. They were there, so I went back downstairs.
Thank you. Nothing further.
Mr. Whitaker, you testified earlier that the police threatened to charge you with felony murder if you didn't testify today.
Yes, I cut a deal for reduced charges.
So you're a criminal who swore to defend the Atlas Museum of Art and robbed it instead, and now to avoid responsibility, you've agreed to lie in court.
Objection.
Sustained. Watch it, Mr. Wood.
How tall are you, Mr. Whitaker?
I'm about 5'7".
Did you tell the police that the defendant was about your height?
Yeah, I think so.
I'm confused. Mr. Salazar is 6'1".
Okay.
You didn't actually witness the shooting of Cecil Carbo, did you?
No.
And when you allegedly saw Mr. Salazar inside the museum on the day of Mr. Carbo's death, you're sure it was him?
Yeah.
Because the prosecutors seem to think that the men who did this were wearing masks.
He was.
Then how did you recognize him?
I don't know, because...
You don't know, or this wasn't part of the dress rehearsal with the DA?
Objection.
Sustained.
Look, I went up there and I looked him in the eyes and he nodded just like we planned. It was him. And I remember everything about it, okay? We were standing under an exit sign outside the room where the crown was. I remember there was a dude on crutches next to us. I remember I was worried he was gonna take forever to get out of there once the heist started. I saw the ID badge Salazar had on, my old badge that I reported as lost, okay? I remember it all, okay? I'm not lying.
Mr. Hawkins, do you own a business?
Yes, I am the president and sole employee of an LLC called MTH Import Export. I sell items and buy items. Art, watches, jewelry, you name it.
Sounds like a pawn shop?
I prefer import-export, thank you. So do my clients. My business requires a certain amount of discretion.
And the defendant, Luis Salazar, is it true that he is your nephew?
Yeah, kind of.
Can you explain that to the jury?
Well, he's my nephew by marriage. Except I'm not married to the family anymore. For 12 years, I was married to his mother's sister. We don't talk much, ever, really. I always thought he was kind of a screw-up, honestly.
And yet, did Mr. Salazar have occasion to call you just prior to February 18th, the day of Cecil Carbo's murder?
Yes, he did. It was 4 days before.
To say what?
He asked if I could move an expensive piece of art.
And did he mention what it might be?
Hell no. I mean, if I'd have known, I would have told him he was insane, which he clearly
Objection,
is.
Your Honor.
Sustained.
All he told me was that it wasn't a painting. It was more like jewels, gold and emeralds.
Did the defendant contact you after the day of the theft?
Yes.
And what did he say?
He said that the thing that he was going to do, that he actually did it.
And what did you interpret that to mean?
that he stole the thing that he was going to steal.
Thank you. Nothing further. We're doing what?
In exchange for reducing charges and advocating for a lenient sentence, Luis Salazar will reveal the location of the crown.
No, I understood the offer. I don't understand why we're even considering it. This is nothing but an act of desperation at the 11th hour. We have Luis Salazar dead to rights. I'm confident the jury will return a guilty verdict tomorrow morning.
I'm not sure that's the math on this one.
No, it's the only math that matters. We are holding a man to account for murder. This thing? It's just a thing. It's immaterial, Nick.
This isn't a debate, Nolan. Prosecutorial discretion exists precisely for cases like this. We're not here to solely satisfy a lust for maximum punishment. We're here to protect the public interest, which in this case is more complicated than a prison term.
It doesn't matter that I don't believe what you're saying, Nick. I don't think you do either.
All right. I keep forgetting how you really feel about me.
Come on, Nick. Let's at least be honest about why this is really happening. There are 2.5 million Catholics in New York. They vote. That is why this is happening.
You're wrong. If we drop this to murder 2 and recommend the low end of the sentencing range and bring the crown home in one piece, that is a win for the many, many people who believe in this thing. That means it's a win for the city of New York, and that means it's a win for us.
For God's sake, there's an argument to be made. The crown doesn't even belong to the church.
That is not our concern.
Right. All right. Not a lot of indigenous Colombians around here.
I'm done. Make the deal.
Today is not about what was lost. Today is about what was found, about the resilience of faith. What happened here caused so much pain, confusion, even anger. But I would argue that we are better for it. Gold will tarnish, emeralds will crumble to dust. But what the crown of Papillon proclaims is eternal. Gratitude is stronger than greed, and God does not abandon his people. And finally, I would like to thank Nicholas Baxter, our esteemed district attorney, for making this happen.
Thank you, Your Eminence.
Not a mention of Cecil. Not one word.
Mrs. Carbo, I know
That you people promised us that you'd do everything to get justice for Cecil.
the man who did this has pleaded guilty. He's going to prison for 15 years.
So he'll be out before he turns 40. Why does he get a life, but my dad doesn't?
As prosecutors, we are not here just to satisfy a lust for punishment. We also have to protect the public interest, and which in this case, it got complicated.
Can you even believe the words coming out of your mouth?
Showing you what has been marked as Exhibit 11A. Can you identify this object?
It's a trophy of sorts. Blackwell and Kett, Mr. Wallace's law firm, executed an $8 billion merger between two luxury boat companies. That's why there's a sailboat on there. And the firm made a small number of these to commemorate the deal. And this one was given to the firm's managing partner, Kevin Bradley.
Did Mr. Wallace work on that deal?
He did. Yes, he was the architect of the deal.
Can you explain for the jury what we are seeing here?
This is a space left in the dust on Mr. Wallace's shelf after his copy was removed.
And you believe it was removed?
By the killer, used to murder him, to bludgeon him to death. The object weighs 6.2 pounds, which is consistent with the victim's head injuries, which were his cause of death. We were also able to recover traces of paint in the victim's head wound that matched the paint used to make the object.
Detective, you were also able to obtain the number of every cell phone that pinged off of towers near Mr. Wallace's home on the night of the murder. Is that correct?
Yes, we determined that Mr. Wallace died sometime between 9:15 and 11 p.m. And one of the numbers that was in the vicinity at the time of death belonged to the defendant.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Your witness, Mr. Ferguson.
Detective Riley, did you recover what you claim is the actual murder weapon as opposed to this copy?
No.
And you have no idea of knowing when Mr. Wallace's copy went missing?
We have strong reason to believe that it was
It's
taken.
equally possible that Mr. Wallace could have gotten tired of looking at it days earlier and tossed it. Isn't that true?
I suppose.
In fact, all of this talk about this being the actual murder weapon is purely conjecture, isn't it?
It's a theory.
How many people were in the vicinity of Mr. Wallace's home between 9:15 and 11 p.m. the night he died, according to your cell phone data?
Approximately 1,800.
1,800. And you interviewed exactly none of these people other than my client, correct?
That is correct.
But surely you searched each of their homes in an attempt to find the alleged murder weapon.
No, we didn't because we felt that we had already found the killer, Mr. Al-Halak.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
And Mr. Bradley, who could see this Slack channel and participate in it?
Our partners and senior attorneys.
Can you read for the jury a message posted by the defendant at 3:14 p.m. on the day of the murder?
Roger Wallace is an existential threat to this firm.
Strong words.
The stakes were real.
Mr. Wallace wanted to stand firm against these unusual requests, but that would have come with a cost, correct?
Yes, if we had refused to reach an agreement, our firm would have been banned from doing business with the federal government.
And isn't it true that no partner at your firm stood to lose more in that scenario than Mr. Al-Halak?
Yes.
Is it fair to say that his entire book of business would have evaporated overnight?
Yes.
And in the end, after Mr. Wallace, the most influential voice at your firm, calling on you to hold the line, after that voice was silenced, what did you do?
We made a deal.
You caved.
We agreed to donate $80 million worth of pro bono work.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Mr. Ferguson.
You read the jury a message my client posted on Slack. Could you read this one, too?
If Wallace gets his way, it's over. We'll all be out on the street.
Also written by Mr. Al-Halak?
No, it was not.
Well, who wrote those words, then?
Camilla Lamb, a partner in our litigation department.
What about this one?
Wallace is a great lawyer and a political dinosaur. Not going to happen on my watch. That was written by a corporate partner, George Oakley.
So let's say, for argument's sake, that this internal dispute was in fact the motivation for the tragic murder of Roger Wallace. Of course, we've seen no evidence of that.
Objection?
Sustained. Watch it, Mr. Ferguson.
If we buy that claim, in theory, there are any numbers of partners other than Mr. Al-Halak who were upset with Mr. Wallace's point of view, who were emotional.
Yes, that's correct.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Mr. Price, call your next witness.
The people call Robert Chilton.
Mr. Price?
Your Honor, it appears that our witness, Robert Chilton, is not here.
So, what is this?
I was trying to tell your friend here.
You're trying to tell Lieutenant Brady what?
I've just been doing some thinking, and I don't think what I told you was right. You know, I've been hitting the sauce a good amount the first time.
That's not true. We didn't smell any alcohol on you. There was no evidence that you'd been drinking. You were completely lucid.
All I can tell you is there's no way I saw blood on that guy. It was too dark for that.
Come on, Robbie.
You picked him out of a six-pack.
Then I got lucky. There were 6 photos, so I had a 1 in 6 chance.
Detective Riley said you didn't hesitate. You picked out Al-Halak right away.
I don't know what to tell you.
How about the damn truth, Mr. Chilton? This is a murder trial. An innocent man is dead. You can send his murderer to prison. You don't get to just change your mind.
Well, here we are.
So that's it. That's his new position?
If we put Mr. Chilton on the stand, this is what he will tell the jury.
Obviously, someone got to him.
I have a pretty good idea who. We have no proof, of course.
So now what?
There are no good options. If we force Chilton to take the stand and he lies, we have to impeach using his prior statements.
Then we have a mess on our hands at best.
Or we don't put Chilton on the stand. That's not ideal either. He was our key witness.
So we tackle this another way.
What do you mean?
We fight back. So I want to show you something. Do you know who that is? What am I saying? Of course you do. You've known Louis Tremont for 25 years. Hell, you gave him an award for antitrust enforcement. That was before he got disbarred.
What the hell are you?
Now, this is really interesting. There's Trammell walking into the 18th Street train station. 5 minutes later, our star witness, Robbie Chilton, who saw Al-Halak outside the dead guy's home, walks into the same station. Neither man catches a train, which is a weird thing to do at a train station. Instead, they both walk back up to the street level 14 minutes later and part ways. Sure feels like a payoff to me.
I'm just following orders.
Was Al-Halak's lawyer involved too?
Nick.
Yes or no? This can go one of two ways. The easy way, where you tell me everything and I do what I need to do. Or the hard way, where I turn over this evidence.
Yes. He was involved. We're making a deal?
Man won 12 years.
Nick, you said we were gonna fight. Doesn't sound like fighting. It sounds more like folding.
It's more complicated than that.
Okay, well, then help me out here. Explain, because...
I can't.
Right, perfect.
Make the deal, Nolan.
3 days after the defendant broke up with Carter Mills and 6 hours after she purchased the .38 revolver from Ike's gun shop, she shot and killed him. Why she committed this crime is unclear. But as you will see, the evidence will show that she did. We will present video of the shooting in which you will see a person with a thin build in a dark-colored hoodie shooting Carter Mills. We will also present a second piece of video from outside the defendant's apartment building on the night of the murder. It will show the defendant, clear as day, wearing the same hoodie as the person who shot Carter Mills. And finally, we will present two witnesses. One who heard her yell, "You deserve this," prior to opening fire, and another who will testify that he not only saw the defendant near the crime scene moments after the murder, but that she literally ran into him in her haste to escape. Like I said, we may not know what provoked the defendant to kill Carter Mills, but we know that she did.
We agree with everything Mr. Price just said, including the fact that Julia Keaton shot and killed Carter Mills. But there's a reason, a good reason. Carter Mills was going to kill her that night, in that moment. So Julia did what she had to do and killed him first. Julia Keaton acted in self-defense. She shot Carter Mills because it was necessary to prevent her own death. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is not against the law.
You want to preclude the defense from discussing the defendant's prior murder trial?
Evidence of a murder victim's prior bad acts is not admissible as proof of the victim's propensity to act in a certain manner, such as being the initial aggressor in a confrontation.
But there are exceptions in self-defense cases if the defendant was aware of the prior bad acts. And in this case, the defendant clearly was. She sat through Carter Mills' murder trial. She heard all of the horrific allegations. She was even aware he was the prime suspect in a second murder case.
That may be true, but Your Honor, the mere mention of this prior trial is on its face prejudicial.
Carter Mills' reputation and prior acts are essential to establishing my client's state of mind on the night of the shooting. She had heard all of the disturbing evidence that Mr. Price himself presented. She didn't suddenly unhear it just because Carter was acquitted.
I agree with Ms. Paymore. The defense can discuss the prior trial, the allegations, his general reputation for violence.
I'm sorry, general reputation for with all due respect, that is ridiculous.
1, it's not. 2, never preface a statement with all due respect, then say something disrespectful. You tried and lost that murder case, Mr. Price. And the mere fact you brought that case meant you believed Carter Mills was guilty of murder. And now what? You want to pretend he wasn't? That the prior trial didn't happen? No. The defense has a right to let the jury know who Carter Mills really was.
I don't really know why, but I believed him. The idea of Carter raping someone or killing someone didn't seem possible. I'd never seen Carter act violently. So I stayed with him.
Did you and Carter remain romantically involved for the duration of the trial?
No, I broke it off toward the end.
Can you explain why?
I knew that even if he were acquitted, the stigma would remain. Plus, I thought that the jury was going to convict him, that he was going to spend the rest of his life in prison. And I couldn't handle that either. So I broke it off.
What happened when you told Carter you wanted to move on?
He got angry. Started calling me all kinds of horrible names.
Can you please be more specific?
He called me a liar, a bitch, a whore.
And then what?
Then he pushed me against the wall. And he started choking me. And then he threw me onto the floor and he raped me.
Objection. This is unfair surprise.
Statement against self-interest.
Overruled.
Your Honor.
Sit down, Mr. Price. Please continue.
He threatened to kill me if I told the police.
How'd that make you feel?
Awful. I was terrified. I was a threat to his freedom.
Can you tell the jury what happened on the night of the shooting?
I took a walk to clear my head, trying to figure out what to do, whether to call the police or move to a different city. Then I saw him, and I froze. And we just sort of looked at each other. Then he said, "I told you they wouldn't convict me." And he started laughing. And he walked toward me and said, "You're done."
And how did you interpret that statement?
I interpreted it to mean that he was going to kill me.
In that moment, were you in fear for your life?
Yes. I was convinced he was going to kill me. So I shot him. He was evil. I don't know why it took me so long to realize it, but he was going to kill me. I swear, I know it.
You want to offer a man one?
If we take Julia at her word on the rape allegation, I think it is reasonable to conclude that she was acting under the influence of extreme emotional disturbance. Not to mention, there's a really good chance the jury's going to buy her self-defense story and that she walks.
Are you doing this because you think it's the right legal move? Or to placate Sam, to make amends for the Carter Mills trial?
It's the right move, Nick.
You didn't answer my question.
It is the right legal move.
If you say so.
Hey. Just got a text from Paymore. Julia wants to accept a plea. But there's something you should know. After the meeting this afternoon, Julia and I talked for a minute. I told her I felt awful about what had happened to her. She got very emotional. She said that she felt like a fool for believing in his innocence. And then she said something she didn't mean to say. She was just so emotional that, well, she accidentally confessed to waiting outside Carter's building prior to killing him.
Which means she lied on the stand.
Yeah.
And she and Carter didn't just happen to cross paths that night.
No, you were right. This was premeditated. This was an assassination. On paper, anyway.
On paper?
Based on the letter of the law.
All right, so how do you want to proceed?
Are you asking what I would do or what I think you want to do?
No, I'm asking for your opinion.
Okay. Well, we have two choices. I mean, I can testify as a rebuttal witness and tell the jury what Julia blurted out, or we can both pretend that I didn't hear what Julia just said. Accept the damn plea and move on.
I didn't ask for choices, Sam. I asked for an opinion, for your opinion.
Yeah. Well, my opinion is we accept the damn plea. Just because we can win the case based on the letter of the law, it doesn't mean we need to.
I agree.